Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and we're joined once again by Mark Gonzales over at First National Bullion. And a lot of people have commented to us in the past and said, "Oh, you're being negative, you're being black-pilled. The economy is doing great, better than ever." Of course, I would love that to be the case, but we're seeing serious strain happen right now as we see 75% of Americans report soaring prices as Trump claims inflation over. Of course, we're seeing a lot of people talk about their loss of confidence in the dollar. Again, no matter who the president is, the dollar is still going to lose its value because it's a fiat currency and it's a basis of said fiat currency. It's all debt and it's always bound to fail. And at the same time, Trump calls 100% China tariffs not sustainable following market panic. And this is after people were attacking us for daring to say that these tariffs, which are basically taxes on consumers on both sides, are not a good thing. Unless, hey, they ended all tariffs on Earth because of this, that would be great. That's not going to happen. Simultaneously, Trump gives U.S. car makers a tariff time out. There's more and more evidence that Trump is pulling back on the tariffs a bit because, of course, it isn't actually ending well for manufacturers, for people on the ground. And, in the face of this, we're seeing the inevitable happen. The economy's cratering. The markets are cratering in a big way right now. They've been getting hit pretty hard. There's two banks are revealing data that's echoing the '08 crash. And even Jamie Dimon says everyone needs to be warned of this. In the face of this, people are rushing into gold and silver. I mean, this is an opportunity, people. And I know people will say, oh, we'll stop shilling gold. This isn't to be shilled. This isn't an investment. This is wealth insurance. Gold rises to a record 30% of global reserves holdings, will overtake US dollar above $5,790 an ounce. And people will say, well, why would we get in at the top? It's not the top if you understand where the dollar is going and why there are shortages across the board. I mean, we're seeing gold monthly RSI hit 93. We've already seen a lot of shortages in the gold market. And now India's largest metals refinery just ran out of silver for the first time in history. And India's economy and India's culture is very much based around gold and silver. So this is very important news and signifies some major shifts happening on the global stage. Before we get into this with Mark, I urge people to go and check that link in the description and get prepared today. It's a no-brainer, my friends. We're facing this. We're going into a digital ID system and a CBDC system. They're unleashing it everywhere. This is your opportunity to protect your wealth and not just put it under the mattress so that it loses value. I urge people to go to firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/. It has to be that exact link. No other link. It has to be that exact link. It's in the description of the video. And there you could buy physical gold, silver, platinum, or palladium. Hold that gold in your hand, put it in a vault, put it in an IRA outside of the traditional IRA system, and schedule an appointment for a free consultation with Mark Gonzales today. And you'll get a complimentary investors package with that as well. This is an opportunity for everyone out there to actually protect themselves and not just complain about the problems, but actually utilize a real world solution. Let them know in the comments of the forum when you sign up that you found them at World Alternative Media or WAM. And I know you guys won't regret it going forward. Anyways, Mark, we have most Americans feeling the heat of inflation. People will say, oh, well, the inflation isn't as bad as under Biden. Well, that might be true to some degree, though. Obviously, a lot of that came from the 25% of all currency ever created happening in a month in 2020. And the aftermath of that, once that money is liquidated and actually put into the market and into the hands of the consumer. But of course, if you go to the grocery store, prices are still going up. And there's no change to that. No matter how many people are going to try to grasp at straws here, the prices are still going up because the dollar is inevitably going to lose all of its value. And we're just seeing that downslope as we see people rush into gold and silver. Mark, what do you think of this news of 75% of Americans openly saying, they're seeing soaring prices, yet Trump says inflation is over?
The only surprising thing to me about that article is it's not 100% of people. The fact that 25% are thinking, no, we're good. The prices have been rising. That I don't know what planet they're on. It's nuts. Even in Mexico, you can feel the effects of the dollar devaluation down here. It is a little cheaper to live, but you can feel it. And it's going to be a worldwide event. So inflation is it's not a monetary phenomenon. It's a debasement of the currency. Currency is created from the debt. It's a Ponzi scheme. Borrow $1 to make $1, owe $1.30. The interest isn't created. So you never have enough to work with. You must continuously go into debt. And that's a nice racket for the Federal Reserve and central banks, because they have agreements with governments to print government's currencies and charge them an interest at our expense. It's not going to stop. Inflation was higher at Biden, as you mentioned, a quarter of currencies printed in the pandemic, but it's probably going to catch people a lot off guard. I've been saying for a while. So there's a thing called velocity of money, and we're starting to see that. You see it in fits and starts, but when it really takes hold, there's no going back. So velocity of money is how many times a unit exchanges hands. So if you're a waiter, I tip you $5. That's one. If you take an Uber or a cab and you give them the $5, that's two. If the cab driver puts the $5 in the tank, it's three. The more velocity, it becomes a hot potato effect. I don't want the currency. And the faster the velocity goes, the higher the inflation rate goes, because it's a signal of distrust and disvalue. When people start changing their spending habits, and I know people that already have, it's just it hasn't happened to massive scale for one reason or another. But when it does, it's game over. So kind of like instead of going grocery shopping on your Saturday run, you maybe go on a Tuesday night, because you know every single week that you're going to get groceries to feed your family, that incrementally you're paying more and more and more. So you think, aha, I'm going to beat the system. I'm not going to go to Saturday. Instead of spending another extra $8 to $10, I'm only going to spend $3. And that's going to create the hot potato effect. So I think we're right around the corner of that. We knew from the beginning that the tariffs meant nothing at all. Essentially, they were just a smokescreen. How can you blame another country for taking advantage of your currency base when your whole purpose is to export your inflation and manufacturing? So the inflation that we should be suffering at the U.S. is felt here in Mexico based on the exchange rate. Now, peso has gained a little bit to the dollar, but that's what it is. And then the manufacturing goes to Mexico, goes to China, goes to India, goes to other places, because it's less expensive to purchase something. We, on the other hand, then get to sit on our tail and just have a lavish lifestyle. So that is in fact the purpose of the reserve currency. So you can't blame anybody for doing exactly what they're supposed to do. It's all kabuki theater. Right. As far as this relates for gold, look at what's gold and silver. Look what happened in India. They literally ran out of silver. Mm-hmm. Right. So they were getting metal from China. China was on a week-long holiday. So then they called up London, but London is overcommitted and they just simply couldn't get it. So here's my comment to that. I've said this before. Life will make decisions for you if you don't take the time to make them yourself. There will be a moment where some of your listeners will reach out to me and I may not have anything to offer. And if I do have something, it's going to be an astronomical price. One, the price of silver will not remain at 52. The price of gold will not remain just around 4,300. They are going to actually go a lot higher. And then the premium or the cost to acquire this stuff, since it's a physical asset, if there's not enough to go around, if I have to acquire something to sell you, I'm going to have nosebleed levels of pricing that I have to acquire this for, which means you got to pay me back for that. I'll do the best I can, but that's the world we're going into. It's going to become a absolutely mad scramble. Almost every man, woman, and child for themselves when it comes down to it. I would say get on the ball.
Yeah, we've seen articles recently in our previous video just about like bank run style moves to gold. And we've seen shortages this past year. We've also seen shortages of ammo in issues in times where they're talking about civil war and world war and stuff like that. It's interesting how people will always seem to look to the solutions when the problems are happening. And then even when they're not happening, that's when I think is the most obvious time to prepare yourself. Though obviously we're in the midst of many problems right now. I don't think people should wait until it's too late. I mean, I remember back in 2012, Mark, people were absolutely losing it over gold hitting $2,000 an ounce. And people said, oh, well, I bought at the top and it retraced a bit over the years. These are much more dysfunctional times than that. And if people kept dollars under their mattress since 2012 versus gold, that dollar would have devalued a good 25, depending on what you're buying. In some cases, it would have devalued about 70%, but about 25%. If you were to put that money into gold, it would have doubled in price. I mean, I don't understand how, and more than double, by the way, how people will look at it as, oh, well, it's the top of the market. It's the top of the market. We're looking at a dollar that's constantly devaluing. There's no such thing as a top of a market because this isn't an investment. This isn't, I mean, yes, banks do manipulate gold and silver. They've been caught spoofing it many times. JP Morgan has been caught spoofing it many times. Wells Fargo, Deutsche Bank, all of them. But that's like pushing a beach ball underwater. Eventually, you gain pressure, it bounces up. And we have, when that financial system goes down, people rushing into gold and silver. We will see, I believe, it's my opinion, but I believe that we'll see that bounce because they will no longer have the liquidity to be able to spoof those prices any longer. And on top of inflation going parabolic, it will allow a huge opportunity for those people that want to be free of the digital system and be financially secure in the fact that maybe they've worked their whole life, they put a bunch into savings. Is it sitting in a bank account, in a savings account, in an IRA, in fiat currencies, and is it in bad stocks that you can't trust because you had some financial planner at a bank tell you, hey, put all your money into these baskets and trust us? Do you know how many people I know who've lost everything that way? Or, how many people I know that, trusted the stock market over gold? That to me is crazy. That's trying to make a quick buck in fiat versus ensuring wealth that you already have there that you've worked so hard for. And so many people have lost in past financial crises because they didn't get prepared. So, I mean, look at Venezuela. Venezuela seems like an extreme example for most, but just wait. Maybe we won't see the same level of hyperinflation because it's an emerging economy, but we'll see it pretty bad. Remember, Venezuela has the most oil of any country in the world. So look how far downhill they went with their inflation. Mark, these shortages are telling us a pretty obvious story here. We need to get on this before the panic really sets in and no one can get it. It's not a fear-mongering story. It's about we have solutions. We want people to prosper in the face of some really bad times ahead. What do you think?
Well, absolutely. I mean, why put off till tomorrow what you can easily do today? And I understand that life gets busy, but to the fact that, okay, you mentioned back in 2012, gold hit $2,000 and everybody's thinking, oh my God, but then Bitcoin hits over 100,000. It's like, oh, that's normal. Come on. But the gold and silver is the actual money of the world. Everything else is just the accounting measure. So you said yourself, what if you had $2,000 or the depreciation back in 2012. Let's go back to 1933 when we had circulated $20 gold pieces, right? Which would you rather have in your nightstand drawer, a $20 gold piece or a $20 bill? Mm-hmm. Right? At 64 quarter, at $52, not only does it get you a gallon of gas, just like it did in 1964, it gets you above a gallon of gas. You're getting like a gallon and a half. So this is going to protect your wealth. So when you come out at the end of the day and your grocery bill is up 50, 60, even 100%, this is what's going to save you. When we're going into a digital lockdown type system, it's going to give you flexibility to shuck and jive and stay out of that system maybe a little bit longer. And it's not fear mongering. It's just the reality of where we're at. It's expressed very clearly on where, in fact, we're going. The fact of the shortages happening, I've been saying this for a while. I've seen them. I've been in this industry for 2.5 decades. So I've seen silver sell out. I've seen deliveries go 6 months. I've seen premiums go nearly 100%. We are getting very, very close to that time, people. And it's not going to take much. You think it's a scramble and a panic of people rushing in right now. Yeah, we're busier than we have been, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. And it's not just an inflationary aspect. I mean, you could have some type of event. Now, keep in mind that the WHO and the UN put a treaty together that if they sniff something wrong in the wrong direction in the air, that they can do whatever it is that they could do. So it's not just
the United Nations Pact for the Future, to be clear, which 193 countries signed on to in September of 2024. And around the same time, they signed off on 63 central banks having Basel III, which would include them being able to do bail-in regimes, which means they could just cash out your bank account. And by the way, it's not going to be properly insured because the FDIC is totally bankrupt. So yeah, something that we've talked about a lot on this channel, but people don't realize with the UN Pact for the Future, they could shut down your bank account for things you say online for any emergency directive. So this is a very dangerous time to be trusting all your money to the bank.
And I don't think people should. Doesn't mean that you go to a zero balance. I mean, you got to pay bills. What happens if a tree falls on the roof? What happens if you need car tires? What if that happens in the same month? So you just use your head. Everybody knows their financial situation better than anybody else. It's just a matter of, do you know what to do with it? So that is where I would come in with the conversation to at least educate and walk people through what their options are and how they can benefit from it. Because, did anybody wake up on a Monday morning knowing that we were going to be locked down back in 2020?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Did anybody wake up and be like, oh yeah, I predict that Lehman Brothers is going to go down, 100+ year institution? So no one's going to give you these forward warnings, but when these systems are put into place where they can have the power to lock and seize control of your assets, especially in the digital looking economy, no one's going to give you a heads up on the day it is happening. The heads up is the language, right? Yeah. It is the Pact for the Future. It's the treaty with the UN. It's the language in the Genius Act. It is Golden Dome. It's Palantir. It is the digital ID in relation to your medical. So these are the warning signs, right? The day it happens, I can't tell you, but once it does happen, if you're not on the right side of the trade, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. And keep in mind that gold on reserves versus dollar, it's growing.
Yeah.
Right. Nations want gold as opposed to dollars. And this is something that's never happened before. And then you just look at what gold's performance has done. Just look at the relative strength index and see what it's done. I mean, that thing's pushing nearly 100. There is so much demand for this metal, and it just doesn't seem like it's going to be backing off. Are there going to be corrections? Are there going to be pullbacks? Yes, we saw that on Friday. You're going to get those little bit of an opportunity. Take advantage of it. Gold or silver was $55. It's now just under 53. Mm-hmm. Make it happen.
Well, I mean, and you mentioned it hasn't happened before in history. I will say there's been trends towards it in history when former world reserve currencies have collapsed, where elites rush in to get gold and try and stack their pockets with as much gold as possible. When they know what's going to happen next, and it's interesting. They're definitely, they know something that maybe we know, but of course we study this stuff, but most people don't know, is that we're walking into this catastrophe, and it is in many ways manufactured to give the red carpet rollout to the CBDC infrastructure that they are building around us. And it's not a coincidence that almost every country in the world is doing this at the same time, just as all this comes crumbling down. They plan to replace that old system with that new system, and you will have no way out of the banking system. You'll have no way to be able to control your own free will, what you eat, where you live, what you drive, the rules on the streets, the lockdowns, the restrictions to everyday life. People will have no ability to control that if they do not have that which can, so much controls them, that people are dependent on: banks and money, and of course food. So with that, I think it's important that we stock up on those things that we're most dependent on other people for. Other banks, computers, basically. Most people are dependent on a computer system to manage their money, and most people who have most of their money in the bank, that is what you are essentially dependent on. There's a bunch of people that built the computer. Sure. Anyone see HAL 2000 from 2001 Space Odyssey? Yeah, it's all about who builds a computer, and they don't have your best interests at heart. And of course, with that, you are dependent on an AI machine to decide if you deserve your money or not, and where that money should go, and how it should be valued, and what it should be invested in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's a very dangerous situation to be in. And I hope people go and check that link in the description, firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/. It has to be that exact link. Don't use any other links, and make sure to go and buy physical gold and silver, put it in a vault, put it in an IRA, but you could also just hold it in your hands. I mean, there's options there, and in the future I 100% believe you will need it. And of course, there you could get a free consultation with Mark Gonzales and a free investors guide there. Again, something that I find very important going forward is that people have the information that they need. And when you sign up at firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/, that long link again, you could go to the comments of the forum and let him know that you found him at World Alternative Media, or WAM, WAM. Mark, we have a lot of videos coming up in the near future. We have a lot to bring people, and we are always trying to follow as much information as we can, as we're being pummeled by news on a daily basis. But as always, I really appreciate you joining us today and giving your insights into this. It's always appreciated, and I know a lot of people watching appreciate it as well. And I hope that those people go and talk with you.
Yeah, I talk to people from your show all the time. I am getting busy, so if you have reached out to me recently, I am following up with everybody. Just be patient. But yeah, it's going to happen. And one thing I would like to put out there is, if you're serious about having this consultation, if you really want to get educated, or whether you bought gold or silver before or not, first time, or you're just adding your position, kind of make a mental note of if in fact even write them down, of what your questions may be and what you would like to dive into. Not only does it help time, but I find when I have conversations with people, you get off the phone and sometimes you wish you would have asked something, but you forgot, just as the conversation type flows. But I'm here, I'm trying to help the best I can. Again, not trying to promote fear, just this is where we're at. Choose to take control of your destiny or not. At least put yourself in a position of strength to survive and sidestep what's coming a little bit longer. I know this, where the price of gold and silver is going, there are people that are going to become extremely, extremely wealthy in this transfer of wealth in this coming digital system, just on the price move of gold and silver. When you operate from a position of strength and wealth, it's a lot easier to buy your way in or out of a predicament or a situation. Right. Be in that position.
Yeah, as you say, a lot of people will get very wealthy, and a lot of people will get very, very, very impoverished as well if they make the wrong decisions here.
Opposite, yeah.
All the more reason why we need to actually get prepared. That is the basis of everything. Human beings are, the whole basis of humanity is based in individualism, responsibility. That's the same thing as freedom. It's no mistake that freedom and humanity have the exact same synonymous basis and defining factor that makes it so great. So again, I urge people to check that link in the description. And as always, people signing up, make sure to keep following up. If make sure to check your junk folder, whatever it might be. We have a lot coming up on the horizon. Make sure to hit that like button, share on social media, hit the notification bell, and hit subscribe if you have not yet already, on Rumble and BitChute, specifically at World Alternative Media. And anyways, thank you, Mark. Always good to talk with you.
Thank you.